Hi, my name is Paulette, and the title of my project is 50 Shades of Sex, the blurred lines between the true dominatrix and the sexual deviant. When I first approached my topic, unfortunately, I was a bit biased. I didn't realize it until I was called out on it. So then I decided to just do the research and figure out what was it I really wanted to know, and that's how I came up with my research question. How does the misrepresentation of BDSM and pop culture create blurred lines between the true dominatrix and the sexual deviant? First, I did a contextual analysis. BDSM representation in culture, arts, and entertainment, the psychology of BDSM, and BDSM as it relates to feminism. Next, I did a textual film analysis and application of 50 Shades of Grey. I wanted to know, did 50 Shades of Grey normalize the subject of BDSM? Did it talk about getting psychological benefits of BDSM? And also, what did the movie do for the empowerment of women? I'd like to start off by defining a few terms. BDSM. The B for bondage. D is for discipline or dominance. S is for submission or sadism, and the M is for masochism. Sadism means the ideal of wanting to inflict pain on others. Masochism is the sexual gratification of one's own pain or humiliation. A dominatrix and dominators are the main players in the BDSM. Dominatrix is the feminine form of it, and dominators represents the masculine form of it. And sadomasochism means the idea of whether you want to inflict pain, that you like the idea of inflicting pain on others and as well as have pain inflicted on yourself. Because BDSM is more than just about sex. There are a lot of misconceptions and assumptions about those who participate in BDSM. Some people consider them perverts, or some assume that they must have been abused or neglected as a child, because why else would they want to participate in pain and torture activities and receive sexual gratification from that? And also, there are others who assume that they're sexual deviants and or just serial killers in the making, and I can attest to being guilty of the last bias because of my study of serial killers, that many of them who use BDSM techniques for their sick and depraved appetite. BDSM in arts, culture, entertainment. This was previously a taboo topic. You would not talk about BDSM in the open forum. Now people are talking about dinner conversations in academic settings. Harvard University has a class called Consensual S&M. The New York Times has written articles about BDSM because people are curious and trying to understand it. Cosmo Magazine offers kinkier sex tips as BDSM became more popular, and now we're discussing BDSM in an honors undergraduate research project. So it's definitely come a long way. BDSM is also influenced in literature. Some books by Chloe Thurlow and Sylvia Day both have books considered erotica series of books, and A Girl's Adventure and Bear It To You are just a couple of the many books that are inspired by BDSM. There are many artists who are inspired by the BDSM culture. Most of the artwork involves a lot of nudity, but in this case I was able to find two pieces that did not. On the left you see the Japanese artist R. Akai, who has a depiction of a bondage mask. It's usually worn by a dominator during BDSM play. And the artwork on the right is Nancy Grossman's depiction of a woman who's being dominated in a submissive position. And so many people may find some of this distasteful, but there are a lot of people who are inspired and find this artwork very beautiful in the BDSM community. The contextual analysis of the psychology of the BDSM. There was once a time when people who participated in fetishes and sadomasochism was considered meant to have a mental disorder by health professionals. However, in 2006, a study was done by Pamela Kindley, who compared participants of BDSM versus those who did not participate. She found that those who participated in BDSM were less depressed, has less issue with anxiety, did not have PTSD, and also they were less likely to be narcissistic. And I found that very interesting in my research. Next, I wanted to discover, was there any connection between BDSM and feminism? And I discovered a very surprising research that was done by Danielle Linman. Will the real dominatrix please stand up? Artistry, purity, and professionalism in the S&M dungeon. Danielle, who is a professor of sociology of Lee University, she focuses on gender, sexuality, culture, deviance, and work. In her research, she interviewed 66 professional dominatrix who are considered self-employed individuals working in New York and San Francisco. Based on her research, after she'd done the interview, she developed theories about this culture. She discovered that some of these women were playing with gender roles, power, and submission. Some of these women were paying their way through college, getting paid $60 an hour to put themselves through school. She discovered these women do not like to be considered mistresses or deviants. She also describes a rift between the two types of main dominatrix in the field. One called a dummies, who are considered less educated young women in the home, and indies, who are more educated, independent business women with consistent clientele. So the dames were usually considered young women. They worked in a person's particular home as a dominatrix. But indies were those who were independently self-employed women who had a clientele who came to them for their BDSM practices. So after doing my contextual analysis of BDSM, I wanted to find if there was a film or book or something that will add to my research to further the topic of BDSM. And one of the most popular films and books that are out there right now is 50 Shades of Grey. So I did a film analysis of 50 Shades of Grey. The author is E.L. James. She wrote a book series as a fan fiction of the Twilight series. Her two main characters in this book and movie is Christian Grey and Anastasia Steele. Christian Grey is a handsome billionaire, and Anastasia is a very naive virgin who meets Christian. And Grey is considered the dominator in the BDSM world, and Steele is a bit naive to that culture. I wanted to know if the conversations surrounding 50 Shades of Grey normalize the sexual preference of BDSM. Does it make it more okay to talk about, and or something you should not be ashamed of if you participate in BDSM? Did 50 Shades of Grey do that as a whole to the BDSM community? In 2015, prior to release of the 50 Shades of Grey's movie trilogy, Elizabeth Vargas of 2020 interviewed James about her research, and James talked about how she used her husband as a guinea pig doing her research as inspiration for writing the book. Also during that same interview, Vargas interviewed soccer moms and seemingly conservative couples who were praising James for her book. They claimed that James rejuvenized their sex life, and they were very pleased with the James series of books and were excited about the new movie that was coming out at that time. However, James received a lot of backlash from the BDSM culture because they felt that the book did not represent true dominatrix and dominators of the BDSM community. But 50 Shades of Grey did get people talking about BDSM in an open forum. The male dominator, Grey, suffers from several psychological problems, unlike the many individuals who practice BDSM. Grey is obsessive and controlling. He's obsessive compulsive about cleanliness of his home. He wears the color gray all the time. His house has white walls. Some of the furniture is considered white. He controls what his employees wear. Most of them are females in gray, pristine suits, and they're dressed a certain all the same way. Even his male employees does whatever he says he wants them to do. He's very controlling. He was sexually abused as a child. He was introduced to BDSM while he was still a teenager, underage, by an older woman. He is paranoid that Gray that Steele is going to leave him. He's also a sexual deviant because his practices of BDSM, he abuses the main character Steele and treats her more of a sex slave than someone who's a willing submissive. In the movie, the empowerment is given to Christian Grey versus Anastasia Steele. Grey instructs Steele on what to eat, what to wear, and whom she can have sex with. She doesn't have the same type of role of a true dominatrix mentioned earlier in the research by Lindman. She doesn't own her own business, have clientele. She is considered a sex slave versus a dominatrix or a truly willing submissive. Going back to my research question, how does the misrepresentation of BDSM in pop culture create blurred lines between a true dominatrix and the sexual deviant? Well, after doing my contextual analysis of BDSM in the art, entertainment, and culture, and the psychology of BDSM, and BDSM as it relates to feminism, I discovered that 50 Shades of Grey is a misrepresentation of the BDSM culture. The movie is a disgrace to the beauty and the art of BDSM. It doesn't capture those inspired artists who created artwork based on their inspiration of BDSM. 50 Shades of Grey misses the many psychological benefits that many participants receive from BDSM play. Instead, it portrays a psychologically damaged sexual deviant as the main character. And 50 Shades of Grey takes away the power of what a true dominatrix would receive in the real world of the BDSM culture. Well, the significance of this research is that by examining and comprehending the context of BDSM in various areas of society, preconceived ideals about this culture are dispelled, and greater insight into BDSM as human expression is illuminated. Thank you for listening. These are my works cited.